in the UK, you have freedom of speech, right?
Yeah, I do want you to answer my question.
No, but James, what has it changed?
What's the worst thing about Xi Jinping?
Nothing. I can't see. I don't see.
John's in Harrogate. John, what would you like to say?
Hi, James.
Hello.
So basically, I was in China for 5 years in a city called Suzhou in northern Jiangsu province. And it's a very working city. You know, there was about 30 foreigners out of about 10 million Chinese people. So, you know, it was a question of if you didn't speak the language or learn it quickly, because I didn't know anything when I went over there, you didn't eat unless you went to McDonald's and pointed at a board. And the thing about China is it's been sort of closed off for so long, you know, until sort of the 90s when they started to open up their economy and open up to tourists and things like that, that it's always been that place that was over the horizon, certainly to us Brits. It was far away.
Oh, well, that's a brilliant first brick in the wall of my Great Wall of China. First brick in the wall of my understanding, of course. And you're right, and I should have remembered that. Is that you are talking about essentially a new country, something that is emerging from years of self-imposed isolation.
Absolutely. You know, my uncle he worked for BP, and so he went there in the early 90s as they were opening up their economy to foreign investment. And, you know, he used to tell stories as I was a kid of this amazing place. And so when I got older, I was in a job I wasn't very happy with, an opportunity for me to go over and work there, because I thought I'll never get over there otherwise. And it absolutely opened my world, created confidence and things like that. And the people that I met were lovely. They were so welcoming, so nice. But there is a kind of an undercurrent of fearful respect in the nation, because, you know, everyone refers to Xi Jinping as Xi Dada. You know, he is Xi father.
Right.
You know, but on the equal side, here's a man who, within 2 weeks of Winnie the Pooh being a sticker on all of our phones, disappearing because he looked a bit like Winnie the Pooh. That absolute control. And I
just
had
for older listeners, this isn't a sticker that comes free with a packet of Weetabix and you put it on your pencil case on your way to school. This is an online image.
Yes.
And that, I mean, I'm not aware of this story. It was somehow removed from circulation in China because critics or comics, wags, have pointed out the physical resemblance between Xi Jinping and Winnie the Pooh.
Absolutely.
Which now that you come to mention it is I mean, it is there.
Yeah, QQ or Weixin, they disappeared just because people were making jokes about Xi Jinping, because they wouldn't say, oh, Xi Jinping this, Xi Jinping that. They would just use the sticker. And it was a bit of sort of a silent rebellion amongst just youths and things like that. You know? And I was one of them. You know, I would get in on a joke, because who wouldn't? You know, we come from a culture where we can take the mick out of our leaders. But then at the same time, in my second year there, I was working at a university. It was an amazing job, loved the people. And I had a student, I was checking my call sheet that day to go, who are the students in this class? And I looked, there was one girl, and she had 4 characters in her name. Right. And most Chinese people have 3 characters in their name. And I just said, oh, this is unusual. And just said, who's this?
Yeah.
And I said, and she stood up, she goes, oh, hi, my English name is Tina. And I was like, oh, hi, Tina. Well, how come your name's different, just out of curiosity?
Yeah.
And she said, oh, I'm an Uyghur. I'm from a different part of China. We have different sort of cultural beliefs. And I was like, oh, what's this? Never heard of them before.
Yeah.
And then about a year after I come back, so I left in 2018, just shortly after my father passed away. And I moved back to the UK, and I started to hear on the news the stories about what was going on with that population.
Yeah.
And to this day, I do not know what happened to her or her family. I've no idea if they were put in a camp or anything, one of these re-education centres. I do not know. And I have no way of ever contacting her to find out. No sort of path of communication back to those students to find her.
You're describing a weird, almost parallel universe, aren't you, which you have in all totalitarian regimes. You can have a form of contentment among a population, but it is fringed and parenthesized by the extremes. I mean, by the fact that if you had, I mean, anybody in your class had started publicly comparing the leader to Winnie the Pooh or worse, saying about him some of the things I routinely say every single day about politicians in this country, I'd disappear.
Yes. Yeah, if you wrote, you know, who broke Britain over there,
how they
we
broke
wouldn't
China.
be listening to you on the radio.
Sounds like a T'Pau song, doesn't it? But I mean, it just simply wouldn't happen. See, that's inconceivable, isn't it? I mean, and that's again back to Donald Trump, because you can see how it happens, how it gets imposed, which isn't what happened in China. It kind of evolved organic. No, it didn't, did it, with Mao Zedong? But you can see how it happens. They're closing down dissent, closing down journalists, until if you grew up in China now, you could be forgiven for thinking that this was all entirely normal.
Yeah. And the thing is that, you know, this is what I mean by there's a sort of a contentment behind the fear, is that people in China are happy. Food is cheap. Fuel is cheap. Even healthcare, whilst you have to pay for it, is relatively cheap. And it's one of those things where everyone has a job. You know, my mother came to visit me one day, and we were about to go around this mountain where they were just building a new road, and literally as we cycled past, they opened up the road, and we were like, oh, let's go down this new road. It's nice. It's brand new tarmac. We're on bicycles. And there was a group there's a truck pulled up, and about 40 old women, all of them easily over 60 years old. Sorry if you don't consider yourself old at that age. And all of a sudden, all these women get out, and they started planting flowers in the flower beds beside this road. And within an hour we came back, and these about 40 women had done easily about half a kilometre worth of flower bed. And then they were back on the truck and gone. And I was like, if this was at home, how long would that take? Or they'd use a machine or something to clean the roads. Whereas, again, dirty street, 10 old men would come out with brooms. They'd be sweeping it, and they would be government employees. And one person with a machine in this country would not be as quick. But again, they're hiring 10, 20, 30 people to do that, so everyone's got a purpose. Whereas not everyone here has a purpose, because there is a lot of unemployment, things like that.
So you are unshocked by the idea of somebody living under what we would typify as a totalitarian regime being, in many ways, and according to many definitions, very happy.
Yes, I felt more safe and secure in China than I do in the UK. And I live in Harrogate, North Yorkshire, which is a lovely place.
It is indeed.
But I still felt weirdly safer, more secure there. But yet at the same time, I was in Beijing one day. I was walking along the street, and you will see guys on the corner with submachine guns. They're just like police. And then all of a sudden, they pull a barrier across part of the pavement, and you and the other maybe 60, 70 people in that section of pavement are suddenly funneled off to the side and put through, your bags are put through a scanner to make sure that, you know, you haven't got a bomb or anything like that. But then they looked at me as the one white guy in this crowd, and they just went, no, you don't have to, you just go through.
Really?
They're checking their own people, because they're more of the threat than me, just a pasty-faced white guy in Beijing.
And that, I mean, that's absolutely fascinating, isn't it? And that sense of safety, in terms of most normal people, do not spend their lives railing at the regime. I mean, in any country. But if you're not remotely... I talked about this in the context of Syria as well. So I remember talking to Syrian refugees about the comfortable middle-class existence that many Syrians led. And, of course, if you're relying on reportage, British journalism, or if you're only really noticing countries when they're in meltdown or turmoil, you completely forget it'd be relevant to Iran today, in that there will be people living in circumstances that our books teach us are unbearable and unconscionable, who are perfectly happy with the way things are going. I don't want to slag off the government, and I'm less likely to get mugged. I bet phone theft in China is a tiny fraction of what it is in the UK. And that matters more to me, someone could reasonably say, than the fact that they're sterilising Uyghurs. Yeah. And sticking them in concentration camps.
It's always that.
And also, I probably don't even know about that if I'm living in China, because where am I going to find out?
Exactly. As I said, there was a student of mine, you know, he said, he did a presentation that day, and his presentation was on lack of crime and, you know, and high safety in China. And he said there is no terrorism in China. And I was like 2 weeks before on BBC News, because I was using a VPN to read this article that very morning, there'd been a stabbing in China that was a act of terrorism against the government. Yeah. But he didn't know, because their news was like, no, nothing happened today.
And John, thank you so much. I'm so glad you were listening today. And again, I to bring bloody Trump back into things. I remember So not John McCain. Who was the guy he's persona non grata now? Wrote a book. He was very high up in Trump's first administration, and he rejected the definition of fascism on the grounds of Trump being too venal and small-minded. He just looks at Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and thinks, why can't I behave like that? Tim's in Glasgow. Tim, what would you like to say?
So, good morning, James. Right, I'm 55, by the way, okay?
Very young. That's very young. That's spring chicken, mate.
Okay.
Yeah, carry on.
Okay. So, look, I'm calling as someone from Southeast Asian heritage. Parents were from Laos. There's a lot of influence from China, okay? I visited China. And anyway, so the reason for my call is to talk about the, reluctance to speak about or criticize the government in China by Chinese people, let's say, right?
Yes.
So I think, my memory is of Tiananmen Square, and I watched it live on the news, etc. Now, being a cautious person, I feel, and this may be the feelings of people in China, that, they don't want to end up being taken away to prison or whatever for saying anything bad about their country, their government.
The weird thing is, and the thing that we forget, is that a massive number of people wouldn't particularly want to. And that's where the dichotomy kicks in, because we can sit here with our luxurious Western sensibilities and be repulsed by by some of the actions of this regime, most obviously, and I am, for the avoidance of doubt, repulsed by the repression of free speech on this scale. But what if I didn't want to say anything that upsets the regime? I just wanted to feel safe on the streets at night and have a nice life. It's weird, right?
That may be the case. I mean, there's probably some kind of, let's say, indoctrination by, let's say, Confucius beliefs. That thing where you need to be obedient, listen to your parents.
Yeah.
Not do anything. I've had personal experience of that in my family, and it took a lot of rebellion to remove myself from that situation. Now, some people may not
want to rebel.
Well, not.
But they don't, mate. It's one of the great lessons of me growing. We were similar ages. One of the great lessons of growing up is that people don't feel these burning senses of injustice in the way that people who do feel them. You sort of think everybody is going to be repulsed by what Donald Trump is doing, but 40% of the country aren't repulsed yet, and probably never will be.
I think it must be just attitudes, and depends on the person.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. What would happen if someone stood up in Beijing tomorrow in a factory or a university or a bank and started slagging off Xi Jinping?
I'm guessing there would be a quick response and the person would be taken away, and who knows?
And then who knows? And that's it, isn't it? That's why we don't know much about China, because nobody wants us to. July 2017, the government of the People's Republic of China implemented restrictions on images of the anthropomorphic teddy bear Winnie the Pooh, particularly Disney's depiction of the character from the works of A.A. Milne. Censorship emerged after internet users began using images of Winnie the Pooh in satirical memes to compare the character to Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. Harry is in Grays in Essex. Harry, what would you like to say?
Hi, James. Nice to talk to you again. Just some perspective. The government, as you would no doubt agree, it's for the people, right? So,
which people?
For the people.
Which people? Can't be for all the people. It's not for the people who disagree with them, is it? Or for the Uyghur people who are also Chinese.
James, let me speak.
I will. I mean, you literally said as you would agree. So I can't let that go uncommented on if I don't agree, can I, Harry?
Let me give you a statistic, James.
Go on,
Since 1978, China has lifted 800 Chinese people out of extreme poverty.
Listen, you're going to get cross with me for interrupting again, but I think you mean more than 800.
800 million.
Yeah, there we go. So that was a good interruption, right?
Did I say 800? Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine, but that's why I interrupt. If you say something wrong, like you will agree with this when I don't, or if you say 800 when you mean 800 million, then I will interrupt, and you'll say, let me speak, and everybody loses.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me. 800 million people out of poverty since 1978. China has built... To call China authoritarian regime, I mean, I do have issue with that, because I think it's more a socialist regime. Now, I'll give you a quick example, James. China has built high-speed rail since 2016 to now more than 31,000 miles all around the nation, and that's bigger than the entire world combined.
Which is obviously fantastic, but you're familiar... hang on, we're going to run out of time, and I'm going to pick on your points one by one, Harry. That's how it works.
The train,
you're familiar,
the train is running at lost.
But you're familiar with the observation that Mussolini made the trains run on time, aren't you?
No, it's not that, James. What I'm trying to say is that it runs at lost. Every single ticket you sell is at lost. This is for the benefit of people. Compared to the UK, every year the train ticket price goes up, never runs on time.
Obviously, the train system in China is better than the train system in the UK.
But no, I'm not talking about the system itself. I'm talking about the system in which it was
What's the worst thing about Xi Jinping, in your view?
It's, look, about the Winnie the Pooh, everybody's keep talking about. Why is being so childish to your national leader? James,
no, but what's the worst thing about worst thing about him?
In the UK, you have freedom of speech, right?
Yeah, I do want you to answer my question.
No, but James, what has it changed?
What's the worst thing about Xi Jinping?
Nothing. I can't see. I don't see. He's done so much for the people.
But I mean, is he perfect, do you think?
No one is perfect.
So name one of his imperfections.
Why would I do that?
Because I'm asking you to.
No, I wouldn't. I don't think.
Well, just say something bad about somebody in the Chinese government.
You're doing this. Why we having a actual adult debate and you?
Well, it's not an adult debate. If you refuse
so little about China, I'm trying to
say something
about China.
And you kind of are, but there's no need to shout at me.
What's more important, freedom of speech? Or for a woman to walk in the night free of being hustled? What's important?
It's not either or.
To the people.
It's not either or. You can have both.
So
why can't you say anything bad? Why can't you say anything?
About your crime rates here?
Why can't you say anything? But I think our murder rates just hit a 40-year low, actually. But again, it's not either or. Why can't? I mean, you could have a very robust police force that is standing on every street corner with machine guns and still be able to say the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party is a bit of a prat.
Why would you do that, though?
Pardon? Because you believe it to be true. Because you believe it to be true.
You can, James. Here's the comparison.
Just seriously
about your government. What has it changed, James?
Let's do it hypothetically. Well, what has it changed?
In the US, it's the same. They can say whatever they like about the government. What has it changed?
Well, it's changed everything. We have complete freedom.
Look at the US. What has it changed? Look at the UK. What has it changed? In Europe, everything is slowing down. The economy is in dreadful position.
Yeah, I mean, you are telling me in no uncertain terms that you don't want to ever have freedom of speech.
No, that's not what I'm saying, James.
Tell me what you're saying.
How important.
Tell me why, for people listening, imagine if you can, that you wanted to say something negative about the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. Let's look at the forced sterilisation.
Yeah.
You have to let me speak. You have to let me speak. You have to let me speak.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, because you're taking away my freedom of speech now, and it's my radio show. So you've got the suppression of religious practices, you've got forced sterilisation, you've got forced abortion, you've got forced contraception, you've got mosques being razed to the ground, you've got hundreds of thousands of children being forcibly separated from their parents and sent to boarding schools.
That is not true, James.
Yeah, but what if it is, Harry? You wouldn't be allowed to say so.
But how can you just compare? How can you say a situation that
if it was true?
Because it isn't.
If it was true, and it is. You wouldn't be allowed to say so. So what is your only option if you're not allowed to say anything that's true? What can you do?
James,
to answer your question, you said, what do you get in America? What do you get in the United Kingdom? And the answer is, you get the truth.
Here is a fundamental perception difference. For the Chinese...
I've answered your question. You get the truth.
For the Chinese, collectivism. It's all about collectivism.
I understand what collectivism is, but you asked what we got, what we benefited from, and the answer is, if I see something that is...
You got the truth, James.
If I see something that is wrong, I can say that it's wrong.
James,
if you see something that is wrong, you have to pretend you haven't seen it.
You got the truth, James, but the problem is, what has it changed? You need to fundamentally...
I told you, the truth has to matter. The truth has to matter. There is truth, Harry, and there is truth and there is untruth.
True.
And if you can hold on to the truth, even if you are the only one, you will not go mad. And if you can't hold on to the truth, you will go mad, and you will start claiming on national radio that things happening are not happening.
Look, James, America is spending billions every year.
It's got nothing to do with what I just said.
Listen, anti-China propaganda. So I can't tell you whether or not that's true.
You're not allowed
to. There's no hard evidence to say that is true.
You're not allowed to. There is hard evidence. We're not going to get beyond the point that you're proving George Orwell's most famous diktat. You will go mad if you don't hold on to the truth.
You get the truth, James, but has it changed fundamentally?
Yeah, well, it's changed my ability to describe. It's changed my ability to describe reality.
Look at the problem.
I'm allowed to say
it hasn't changed anything fundamentally. That's what I'm trying to say.
Why do you live here?
Huh? Why do I live here?
Yeah,
because I'm married here. You can move back to China. Listen, James,
you could move back to China.
I'm not slagging off UK, yeah? It's my second home. I love it. That's why
do you love it?
Why do I love it?
Yeah.
For the literature, for the music, for the people, lovely people.
Would I be able to publish a book in China called How They Broke China? Would I be able to sing pop songs about how awful the government is? Like Bob Dylan does, or like Bruce Springsteen does. What is the music that you claim to love?
What's the music? Everything, rock and roll.
You look after yourself, Harry, yeah?
Listen, James,
I did.
You can't have...
I did, Harry.